Hi everyone. I was sitting here reading Esther, okay, and I just want to tell you guys about the riches that my dad has and how the parties and the the just uh, okay, let me just tell you guys Esther, Mordecai and Esther were husband and wife, okay? She's younger than Mordecai, all right? And the king is God, my father. All right. And and we were just okay, let me just tell you how much like the royalty that I had. The let's just let me just read Esther chapter 1. Queen Vashti defies King Xerxes. These things happened in the time of King Xerxes, who ruled 127 provinces all the way from India to Ethiopia from his royal throne, from above, basically. And Susa, Persia's capital city. In the 3rd year of his reign, the king gave a banquet for all his advisors, the representatives of the other countries, the noblemen from Persia and Media, and the governors of the province. For 6 whole months, he made a show of the riches of the imperial court with magnificent and expensive celebrations. We like to party. After the feast, the king gave a banquet for the people of other nations who were in the city. It lasted a week and was held in the palace courts, which was decorated with linen and cotton curtains, held by the courts of purple linen attached to silver and gold blocks, or in marble and stone columns. Couches made of gold and silver had been placed in the courtyard, which was paved with green and white marble and mother of pearl. The couches were spread with fine, thin fabric of many colors with roses around the edges. There were gold and silver cups, and one of them decorated with jewels. More than 1,000 tons of silver had been set out for display. There was plenty of There was plenty of good wine from the king's own supply. There were no limits on the drinks. The king had given orders to the palace servants that they should provide for him and his guests with as much as they wanted. Meanwhile, inside the royal palace, Queen Vashti was given a banquet for the women. Now, there ain't no way that my husband's going to be giving a banquet for men, and I'm not going to be in there. Like, we don't party separate. We party together, okay, as a whole. When we host a party, it's a party for husbands and wives. You know, single people too, but they know that we don't get involved with a couples. They're these respectful people. So her giving, when a bunch of women are together, human women are together, nothing good comes from that. Meanwhile, inside the royal palace, Queen Vashti was given a banquet for the women. On the 7th day of his banquet, the king was feeling happy, so he called and the 7 eunuchs who were his personal servants, Haman, Bazan, Thera, Boraz, Zathhalta, Abatazah, and Theraba. He ordered them to bring in the queen, little Q, so that he could place the royal crown on her head and show her off to the officials and all his guests, for she was a beautiful woman. But Queen Vashti refused, little Q, refused to obey and would not come with the servants. This embarrassed the king and made him furious. He told his advisors about Vashti's reply and asked them to give a legal opinion about what he should do. 3 of them who were closest to the king and held the highest office came and told him what the law required and what should be done to Vashti for disobeying the commands he had given her through his servants. They were Arsaces, Sardathius, and Meleazar, officials of Persia and Media. Then the king told his officials and the governors of Media and Persia how the queen had defied him. So Munchus said to the king and everyone present, Vashti has insulted not only you, but all of us as well. As soon as our wives hear what the queen, little Q, has done, they will be bold enough to defy their husbands and treat them with disrespect, in the same way that Vashti has treated you. If then it pleases your majesty, issue a royal proclamation that Vashti may never again appear before the king. Have it written into the law of Media and Persia, then give her place as little Q queen to some better woman. There is no other way. When your proclamation is made known all over this empire, then every woman will treat her husband with proper respect, whether he is rich or poor. The king and his officials liked this idea, and the king did as Munchus suggested. To each of the royal provinces, he sent a message in the language of that province, saying that every husband must be respected in his own home. Esther becomes queen. Later, the king anger cooled down, although he no longer mentioned Vashti. He kept thinking about how he had commanded her. He kept thinking about how he could. Later, the king's anger cooled down, although he no longer mentioned Vashti. He kept thinking about how he had condemned her. Some of the king's advisors suggested, why don't you make a search to find some beautiful young woman of good character? You can appoint officials in every province of the empire and have them bring all these beautiful young virgins to your harem here in Susa. Put them in the care of Haggai, the eunuch, who is in charge of your women, and let them be given cosmetics and whatever else they may need. Then take the young women you like best and make her queen, capital queen. Then take the young women you like best and make her a capital queen in Vashti's place. The king thought this was good advice, so he followed it. There in Susa lived a Jew named Mordecai, Michael, son of Jair. He was from the tribe of Benjamin, and was a descendant of Kish and Shimei. He was among the captives of King Nebuchadnezzar. Of Babylonia. Yeah, okay, it says Benjamin, but he was raised around the Egyptians, the idol worshippers, Quincy and everything, like all them people. Mordecai was the guard. Okay, Mordecai was the guardian of Esther, the daughter of his uncle Aminadab. She was a beautiful young woman, and after the death of her parents, Mordecai brought her up until she was grown. That's me, Esther. Easter. When the king had issued his proclamation, many young women were being brought to Susa, and Esther was among them. She too was put in the royal palace in the care of Hegai, who had charge of the harem. Hegai liked Esther, and she won his favor. She lost no time in beginning her beauty treatments of massage and special diet. Yes, roast beef. Massage. Yes. He assigned 7 young women specially chosen from the royal palace to serve her. I got servants, 7 women to serve me. And he treated her and her servants well. Now, on the advice of Mordecai, Esther had kept secret the fact that she was Jewish. Every day, Mordecai would walk back and forth in front of the courtyard of the harem, watching to see what was going to happen to her. My man is like, Michael's like, what? Where is she? Where is she? Every breath you take. A man would not be doing that if he was not in love with this woman. The regular beauty treatments for the young women lasted a year. Massage with oil of myrrh for 6 months, and with beauty creams and cosmetics for 6 more. After that, each woman was handed over to the person appointed to conduct her from the harem to the palace, and she was taken to the king. She would go there in the evening, and the next morning she would be taken to another harem and put in the care of Hegai, the eunuch in charge. She would not go to the king again unless he asked for her by name. The time came for Esther, the daughter of Aminadab, to the uncle of Mordecai, to go to the king. She had done everything that Hegai had advised, and she was admired by everyone who saw her. So in King Xerxes' 7th year as king, in the 12th month, the month of Adar, she was brought to the king. He fell in love with Esther, who pleased him more than any of the others, and he placed the queen's crown on her head. Then the king gave a week-long banquet for all of his advisors and administrators to celebrate his marriage to Esther. He also granted a reduction of taxes for the whole empire, because Queen Esther's like, they ain't paying for this. No, they can't pay for this. The people. It's like, cut that in half. That's how I treat people, human beings. Meanwhile, Mordecai had been appointed to a high administrative position. As for Esther, she had still not let it be known that she was Jewish, Mordecai's wife, a relative of Mordecai, Jewish. Mordecai had told her not to tell anyone, just like Abraham did. Don't tell anybody that we... And she obeyed him in this. just as she had obeyed him when she was a little girl under his care. She continued to worship God and carry out God's commands without abandoning her Jewish ways. So, when God promoted Mordecai to a higher position, the two palace eunuchs, who were officers of the king's bodyguards, became angry and plotted to assassinate the king. Mordecai learned about it and told Queen Esther, who then told the king the details of the plot. The king had the two men questioned, and both men were hanged. To honor Mordecai, the king ordered an account of this to be written down in the royal records, so that his valuable service would be remembered. Okay, I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to go to how in my palace, the day that my palace in the mountains, the party that we're going to have in my palace. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, so I'm sitting here and I'm reading The Visit of Queen Sheba. No, it was Solomon, okay, that came to listen to the Queen of Sheba. And he saw and knew, like, okay, it's not like he didn't have money that my father gave him, but he didn't have what Queen of Sheba had. Okay, but we have everything together, and Solomon married me. So we have everything. Okay, so I'm going to read it here, but I'm going to turn the words to the way it's supposed to be. Now, King Solomon heard of Queen of Sheba's fame, and he traveled to Jerusalem to test her with difficult questions. He brought with her a large group of attendants, okay? He brought with him a large group of attendants, as well as camels load of spices, jewels, and a large amount of gold. When the Queen of Sheba and Solomon met, he asked her all the questions that he could think of. She answered them all. There was nothing too difficult for her to explain. Solomon heard Sheba's wisdom and saw the palace that was built for her. He saw the food that was served at her table, the living quarters, and his officials and her officials, the organization of her palace staff, and uniforms they wore. Now, this right now is not in my face, but spiritually, this happened. These things. He saw that Solomon was like, when he prayed to my God for me, he knew, like, okay, I've listened to her. I had questions in my heart, and she answered every single one. This is crazy. And he's like, I'll run the world. Give me the money to, and he supplied Michael with all money and whatever. But I'll run the world, but I can't do it without her. I have to have her by my side to do this. Otherwise, I don't want this. That's why he had to pray for wisdom for me to be with him. And he listened and he understands. So I want this corrected, that it was Michael that came to me to hear his future, his past, his present, and his future. Okay? And you can see my servants, what my servants were, the servants who waited on her at feast, and the sacrifice she offered in the temple. It left him breathless and amazed. He said to the queen, "What I heard in my own country about you," I don't know, maybe he was in the UK or whatever, "about you and your wisdom is true. But I couldn't believe it until I had come and seen it all for myself. But I didn't hear even half of it. Your wisdom and your wealth are much greater than what I was told. How fortunate how fortunate is your husband, and how fortunate your servants, who are always in your presence, like my angels, who are always in your presence and are privileged to hear your wise sayings. Praise the Lord Almighty God. He has shown how pleased he is with you by making you queen of Israel, God of Israel. Because his love for Zion, for you, because his love for you is eternal. Okay? Because his love for me is eternal. He has made you their queen so that you can maintain law and justice. Queen of Sheba presented King Solomon with the gifts. King Solomon presented the gifts to Queen Sheba that he had brought. Almost 5 tons of gold, every large amount of spices and jewels. It's like, I'll give her whatever she wants. Tons of gold and a very large amount of spices and jewels. The amount of spices Solomon gave her was by far greatest that she had ever received at any time. Hiram's fleet the 5 tons of gold and every large amount of spices and jewels. The amount of spices he gave her was by far the greatest that she had ever received from anyone. Okay, gifts. Solomon gives me. Okay, Hiram's fleet, which had brought gold from Ophir, also brought from there a large amount of juniper wood and jewels. Queen of Sheba used the wood to build rails in her temple and the palace, and also to make harps and lyres for the musicians. It was the finest juniper wood ever imported into America. None like this has ever been seen again. That's that little wood. Here we go. King Solomon gave the Queen of Sheba everything she asked for, besides all the other customary gifts that he had generously given her. Then he and his attendants returned to the land of Sheba, to return to the land of Africa. Queen Sheba's wealth. Every year, the queen received over 25 tons of gold, in addition to the taxes paid by merchants, the profits from trade, the tribute paid by Arabian kings and governors of the Israelite districts, the Gentile districts. The queen made 200 large shields and had each one overlaid with almost 15 pounds of gold. She also made 300 smaller shields, overlaying each one of them with nearly 4 pounds of gold. She had all these shields placed in the hall of the forest of Lebanon. She also had a large throne made. Part of it was covered with ivory, and the rest of it was covered with the finest gold. The throne had 6 steps leading up to it, with figures of a lion at each end of the step, a total of 12 lions. At the back of the throne was a figure of it says a bull's head, in each of the two. No, we're going to put a lion's head or a horse's head, like the head of the horse. Beside each of the two armrests was the figure of a lion. No throne like this had ever existed in any other kingdom. All of Queen of Sheba's drinking cups were made of gold, and all the utensils in the hall of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. No silver was used, since it was not considered valuable in Queen Sheba's days and Solomon's days, both of us together. She had a fleet of ocean-going ships sailing with Hiram's fleet. Every 3 years, his fleet would return, bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and monkeys. Queen of Sheba was richer and wiser than any other king, which made him rich too. Solomon rich too. And the whole world wanted to come and listen to the wisdom that God had given him, meaning they wanted to listen to the wife that God had given him. Okay? Everyone came and brought them gifts, articles of silver and gold, robes, weapons, spices, horses, mules, that continued year after year. It's crazy. My wealth is dumb. I told you guys when I was sleeping, I have stupid money. Me and Michael, we have stupid, we own. And people, because of the leaders that are in the other countries, they give us gifts because Dad is in their spirit, and they love to give us gifts. And they make money, and they're well off, and it's not something that I brag about. It is what it is. Now my thrones will have a sunflower around, like at the top, the sunflower with all the little seeds, of gold. The chairs will have roses that come around the sides, and of course we'll have the lion, and we'll have the lion's head or horse in the back of our chairs. I can't wait to design all this stuff. I'm just so excited. I'm excited for Richie and his willingness to repent and accept the truth about who I am. I'm excited for my children and all of those who are just waiting for this to come to pass. I'm just happy. I'm just so happy that we're going to be getting up out of here. And it says that Solomon had put to forced labor those who this garden will be burned up with the people in it that have not repented. And we're going to rebuild Jersey because I love Jersey. I love where it is. This is where now I grew up, and it says here those who somewhere in this the Kings it says those who escaped, who survived the wrath that my father's going to bring on New Jersey, their sons will work. Human beings are my dad's servants. They're my servants. And that's why he called Jacob a servant, because he's man. He's from the earth too. But when we come together, he becomes a child of God, the Most High God. And he hears, like, man, I love that man. I love you. Anyway, I gotta go, guys. If my dad is willing, I'll come back and make a more video. Okay? I love you guys so much. The joy that I have in my heart for, like, my people that, listen, you don't have to worry about nothing. You don't have to worry about anything. It's all good. It's all good. Rock the house, y'all. Okay, I love you guys. I love you, Michael, and I'll see you soon. Okay, love you. Mwah. Mwah. Bye, guys.